Good evening and welcome to episode 79 of the Renaissance Men podcast. I am your host, Stuart Garrard. Joining me this week are my good brothers, Seddon and DRB.
Well, Happy New Year, sir. Happy New Year, everybody. How are you?
Hey, not too bad, DRB. Yes, Happy New Year to one and all. How was your festive season, mate?
Oh, mine wasn't too bad. A bit quiet, a bit low key. Obviously, just me and the old man these days. But I nailed Christmas dinner. I could not have cooked it more beautiful. Hell yes, I did. Impregnated that turkey. Fucking great. Shame there's no more people to share it. But obviously, we're in lockdown again, and the world's gone to hell in a handbasket. But I'm happy enough.
Good to hear, mate. Yes. Season's greetings, I suppose. Well, we're past all that, aren't we, I suppose? I'm glad you had a good one anyway. Seddon, Mr. Michael Seddon, how are you? How was your festive season?
Not too bad, mate. You say we're past that season, but my Christmas tree's still up. And as
mine
much
is
as
too.
Well, we actually said we were going to take it down this weekend, and we were sat there last night, and we just went, "Fuck that! It's staying up for at least one more week. We need a bit. We need a bit more Christmas tree in our life."
I did almost the exactly same thing. I'm going to keep it up till the lockdown's over.
Well, peanuts.
Well, yeah, I was going to say.
Which means I won't be taking it down this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, just power through till next Christmas. It'd be grand. But yeah, festive period. It's strange. I think post Christmas and New Year, people always ask that polite question, don't they, of going, "How was your Christmas?" And I found it quite a tough one to answer this year because I actually quite enjoyed it. But I fear that you sound a bit wankery when you say that because it's the year when you've not been out to see your family and stuff like that. But I think as a kind of a Christmas unlike probably I will ever have again, hopefully, fingers crossed. It was fine. It was quite nice to do it a bit differently and very sort of sedate and low key. I quite enjoyed it.
So what do you have for your Christmas dinner?
Well, I did not have beans on toast.
But
you say, it gets even better, Stu. We didn't have a Christmas dinner.
Okay. Yeah,
because we sat there during the day, and we'd got in crisps and chocolate and all this sort of kind of extra bits that you have at Christmas that aren't always in the cupboard, even though they probably are just to a lesser degree. Yeah. And so, kind of throughout the morning and up until lunchtime, I'd just been eating shit all day, and we just turned to each other and just went, "Can either of us be fucked to cook anything?" And we were just like, "No." So we said, "Well, let's just power through all the trash food." And yes, we just had trash food. And I think the closest we got to anything warm is we put a kind of party pack of vegetable spring rolls in the microwave at one point and had them.
You devils!
Microwavable.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Well, we didn't die off the back of them, so let's hope they were.
Yeah, wouldn't they have gone all soggy?
And they were fine. Well, again, all they had to compete with was crisps and chocolate, so they were fine.
Bacon rashes.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I stood there for hours cooking that fucking turkey. There you were on the sofa.
Gorgeous. Yep. Do you know what? In this house, we refer to that as grazing. Okay.
Yes.
And we came to this because whenever Amanda's mum, bless her, was having Benj for childcare a couple of years ago, basically she would never supply him a dinner. She would just let him eat crisps and fruit and just graze throughout the day like he's a cow. Like a Jersey, I don't know, whatever, ripe for milking. But no, he wouldn't eat anything. She wouldn't provide him with a solid meal. He would just graze. It always made me chuckle. But
that's my life now, Stu.
Yeah,
I am a pro grazer, and I was going to say, like, post Christmas as well. I kind of kept that up, where I don't think I've had anything like you consider a traditional breakfast since Christmas, because all we do is work through those Christmas foods. Breakfast will be like a handful of Twiglets now, or cheese and crackers, because you're just trying to get through the food that you bought for Christmas time. But no, it was weird, but yeah, very enjoyable.
Good. Mine wasn't too dissimilar, to be honest. It's the stock English British answer, isn't it, to say, it's a quiet one. But it really was this year. Christmas Day, we went round the in-laws, and Benji got relatively excited. I think this was the first Christmas where he really understood what was going on, bless him. And we was up at the crack of dawn, and
the true meaning of Christmas. Indeed. He understands presents now.
No turning back now. The only downside being I didn't get to see my mum and dad on Boxing Day as was originally planned, thanks to the tier restrictions, which has now gone into full lockdown for the nation. But it was okay. It was okay. The New Year's been a bit shit because, like I say, we had the corona is running rampant in the United Kingdom. The death figures today were horrendous, weren't they? Over 1,300, I think it was. It's crazy stuff, absolutely crazy. But
we caught a bit of the news before we jumped on here to record, and obviously that's kind of the headline, the numbers. But I think one of the things that was particularly hard to watch is they were interviewing a lot of doctors, in particular nurses, and it's been a rough period for them for a long time, even pre-COVID, overworked, underpaid, understaffed. But you just looked at a lot of them and you just went, this has wiped you out, not only from a energy point of view, but I think that constant seeing people in suffering at this extent, you can just see the toll it's taking. And I feel for them, and I think it's one of the things that makes me the lockdown isn't great, but that's not the thing that annoys me, I guess, about people who have been flaunting rules. It's when you see those people in the hospitals and NHS workers who are having this piled on and on and on and on them because people wanted to go to I was going to say Dunelm. Let's go with it. To go to Dunelm to get some fucking shower curtains, people could have been and should have been a lot more sensible a lot longer than this, because this was always inevitably coming. And I know people will talk about there was like the new, more virulent strain of the virus, but let's be honest, this was coming anyway. It wouldn't have been far off of this even if there hadn't have been that. So bless them. And shit, anyone who's listening, stay at home, man. Give these people a chance.
I think there's another thing that they would dearly love and would cheer them right up is a weekly banging of people's pots and pans. Inspirational that would be for them. Yes, they're trying to get the clap. What's it now? Well, they've tried to rebrand it, haven't they? Clap for Heroes, I think it's called. So for our overseas listeners, a strange kind of custom seemed to bear its head during the first lockdown, where every Thursday a great number of the British public would go outside of their front doors and clap and bang pots and pans and celebrate key workers, those in the medical field or kind of working whilst this country is kind of going to shit. But bearing in mind the fact that these key workers have probably been understaffed and underpaid for almost a decade, probably more now. So it kind of felt like a hollow gesture to many. But they've just one. I was astonished to hear it's just one lonely single mother housewife who kind of made up this whole this crazy custom that we seem to be doing now. And they're trying to bring it back. She has distanced herself from it because she's getting so much hate online, which I kind of was quite funny.
I mean, again, we all have our own life and political opinions, but it struck me. I didn't like it last time, and I certainly don't like it this time. And I'd go there's one of two ways to really show your support for the NHS, and that is either follow the rules, but probably more so, when you get a chance to vote next time, vote for a party that actually believes that the NHS should be invested in rather than strip mined of all its resources.
Yes, here. But it feels like this is a podcast which it is a lockdown podcast. I mean, we started in lockdown 1, here we are in lockdown 3.
Wonder what number we'll get to by the time this ends.
I'm going double figures. If we get to lockdown 10, I'm calling it now. We finish the podcast. We'll probably be ravaged by COVID then anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that, boys. Lovely to have you back and to get this show going. We'll take a brief break here, but when we return, we'll answer some listener questions that we've pulled from Facebook in our Ask Us Anything segment. And, of course, I'll be asking my brothers what they've been playing and watching, not just this week, but I guess over Christmas. So join us after this.
A digital enema of sound. This is the Renaissance Men Podcast.
Welcome back. It's been a while since we've answered some listener questions on Facebook. DRB, before we go into this, you've got a Facebook story.
Yes, unfortunately, I do.
Oh, that's meaty.
Yeah. Well, over the last few months, I've been trying, against my better judgment, to sort of reintegrate myself into the world of Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Yes.
Why? But something funny did happen today. An old school friend of mine posted a photo. It's one of those big class photo, of the whole year. You know what I mean? And I'm actually not in it. I commented on it as I remember this. I was supposed to be in this, but I walked off because I hated the two fuckers that I was stood between. And one was just this sort of mouth-breathing dunce. And the other, I don't know much about, but I remember like my best mate hated him because something to do with his girlfriend at the time. I don't know. Out of loyalty to him, I walked off. Well, the less offensive of the two actually went on to become a rapist. And he
I wasn't expecting that. I really wasn't.
But he violently raped an elderly couple. Oh, so like my old school friend posted this, legends except the rapist, of course. And so what I'm discovering is that some of my old school friends didn't even know about this. So some of them are saying, oh, who's a rapist? And others are saying, oh, wow, look how young we looked. And then occasionally you scroll through, who is the rapist? And eventually got to the point where I commented, look, we need a better motto for the class of 02 than who is the rapist. And eventually he did get named and shamed. But I'm glad I was on the right side of history on that. I didn't stand next to the rapist.
There's kind of like a Facebook game that could have been played, which is, so many people saying who, but you could have turned that into guess the rapist and, judged from the class who they thought was most likely to be a rapist.
Does he have a hat?
Oh, yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
It was definitely Bernard.
Yeah, Bernard.
Wow.
He was a rapist.
He
looked like a rapist.
I would love to hope there's a photo somewhere mid you walking off, just like everyone's standing there, and then you kind of mid stride at the edge of the assembly hall, just walking off.
What is funny to me is that you can see the gap where I'm supposed to be stood. So yeah, it's just one of those moments where you really do wonder, why am I going back into this world?
Well, to get all of your scientific facts from. That's why I'm on Facebook. It's what I base all my medical science on.
Oh, quite. Yeah. Lots of scientists and people, great political thinkers on Facebook.
Yep. So a lot of the biggest social questions are answered in that forum.
Well, yeah. Feel free to come along to our Facebook group, sign up, and you can submit us some questions. It's actually
we promise we'll just talk about cocks and Star Wars. That's generally like the bulk of the conversation.
Pretty much. But DRB, unknowingly, you've hit upon an excellent segue, because Chris Lacey has sent us the first question, and he asks, how many guys will rape Donald Trump in jail? So, what do we think? Cool. Trump's had quite the week, isn't he? We didn't mention it in the opening, but because I knew this question was coming, quite frankly. Wow.
In a lifetime of having a lot of quite a weeks in his life, this was quite a week, wasn't it?
Yes,
the rats are jumping ship.
Yes, they are. So Trump at the start of the week, he was kind of, he's ever since his election loss or election defeat, he's still been bestowing the fact that yes, he was robbed. Joe Biden stole that election, and he's been trying to file lawsuit after lawsuit. All of them failing comedically. But this week they held a rally in in Washington, D.C. Trump was there. He was kind of like, I don't know, I'm not sure how this got started, but it seems like it was a rally for Trump supporters and loyalists and various other right-wing extremist groups. By the sound,
people dressed in camouflage seem to be one of the criteria.
Well, the Senate was finalizing the election result. This was kind of like Trump's last gambit to try and stop it. And so he encourages all these right-wing lunatics to march on Congress and stop, basically disrupt things. And boy, did they, for a while at least. People running through the Capitol building. I mean, this is unprecedented shit. Even in the Civil War.
Indeed, yeah.
You didn't have the Confederates actually hitting the Capitol building. No one has been in the Capitol building other than the elected officials since the British in like 1812 or something like that.
Good old boys.
So this is really unprecedented shit. But where it goes from here, hopefully it's just an orderly transition of power. There could be an impeachment. I mean, he's only got 2 weeks left in power anyway, so there might not be much point.
We've seen what that boy can do day to day, though, so maybe there might be a good point.
Yeah, maybe. You've got a point there. But I mean, really, it was all about that solidifying that result. They wanted to disrupt that. That's why they did it that day. So I think that's what that was about.
And to be fair, they did. The election was ratified. Joe Biden has won. Donald has kind of shown the first steps of not, conceding in any way, but he has admitted that there will be a transition of power, although he won't be attending. He has admitted.
He technically has conceded. He's still shittily saying, no, I really did win, but obviously he didn't. And he probably will never change that story. Yeah. From everything I've read about it is like he is like literally muttering to himself, no, I won. Like he literally believes it was a conspiracy against him.
You know what we like on this show? Most things come back to wrestling.
Sure.
It's how I kind of make sense of the world. And it's got that feeling of that period when there was 2 intercontinental champions, and they had to fight over 2 belts to see who was the actual intercontinental champion. Are we going to have Trump
Biden ladder match?
Well, there's worse ways to settle it.
Yeah. Although I feel like not that I think either of them are in massively good condition, but
no,
I don't see
either of them getting up a ladder.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Vince has already got it booked. He's got the lookalikes in line. He's going to have it at WrestleMania, whatever we're on now, 30 or whatever.
But to more directly answer Chris Lacey's question, like how many people will rape him? Well, not that question exactly, but will he go to jail? I've got this weird feeling that Biden might pull a Gerald Ford Nixon type thing where he might actually clear him just to draw a line under all this shit. Maybe that's a better way to move forward. I don't know, but that's what Gerald Ford did.
I can't imagine it will go to any sort of prison sentence. I think you're right. I think they'll look to get this transition done, and maybe there'll be some acknowledgement that everything wasn't done right, but that they'll leave it there and move on. Because I think it's been an embarrassing time enough for the United States without the former president doing jail time. I think they'll see that as even worse publicity than the country needs right now. But it was very odd because I think it was on our Twitter group. So I'd chosen to go into a YouTube rabbit hole of watching people play Uno, and then at some point I kind of put on Twitter and saw you guys talking about people storming the Capitol building, and I thought, what the shit? And put on the telly, and I thought, God, I go away for 2 hours to watch people play Uno, and this is what happens to the world. It was very bizarre. And then I stayed up till about 2:00 in the morning, even though, I think the bulk of anything sort of big happening had happened. But there is that kind of phenomenon with live events happening in the world that you feel like you can't switch it off just in case it gets worse or something bigger happens afterwards. So I did watch far more of it than I probably needed to in the end. But
I find out with these 24-hour news channels these days is that, although they're basically just repeating the same footage on a loop, you do find yourself just watching it just in case something changes in that loop.
Yeah, you kind of don't want to have gone to bed just before the really big world-changing thing happens. But yeah, so I was going to say about the question. So
yes.
yeah, I don't think he'll go to prison, but it's a really weird phenomenon for me. The becoming rapey in prison. Like, why would someone want to rape him?
I don't know.
He's not the guy. I could understand a svelte 23-year-old, but not Trump.
But yeah, I just think, like, how many people might give him a good shoeing or stab him up a few times? Yeah, I could see that, but yeah, I don't know. But so 0 for me.
Okay. I think the rape ratio could be quite high. I think people would see it as a power play.
It would only be
status
rape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm the big man on ward. I'm the big Fletch. That's a Porridge reference I've just thrown in there.
Could go to a pro-Trump prison though, and that's where he could build his next militia.
Yes, he could. Yeah.
Leads all of his troops out of that prison, back up to the Capitol building. There were some phenomenal outfits though, weren't there? I mean, the amount of tweets and memes that have come out of this of what people were wearing in there is amazing. But I looked at a lot of it and just thought, I mean, outside of the camo stuff, but I just think, my God, like, I just wouldn't leave the house wearing any of that shit. But you've actually gone to like a public place wearing that phenomenal stuff.
What was interesting to me is that most of them were older guys. There's very few millennials or younger. They were all like 40 and upwards and out of shape. Four civilians died. And only one was shot. The other were medical.
They all seizures.
They carked out after going up the first flight of stairs.
Yeah.
Their knees gave way. They tumbled down.
Well, again, I mean, they have that dual thing of like their age and they're American, so they're even more going to be out of shape, aren't they?
Just a very soft generation of people that are suddenly pissed off and they get themselves worked up and their hearts just collapse.
Oh dear. Just briefly going back to your costume point, Seddon. Costume? Well, your
costumes.
Yeah,
attire.
That's the good word. My favourite possibly was the guy wearing his work pass, who was then identified through said work pass and had his details plastered all over social media. That was a good one. That was a good effort. But yeah, idiots, most of them.
And also, we should say none of them wearing a mask. It's a pandemic going on.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah. So thanks, Chris. I think we're kind of split on the rape ratio. We did get DRB. Did you have an opinion on the amount of rape that would go on?
I mean, if he does go to jail, it will only be angry rape, but I don't think he will go to jail.
Okay. Chris, we hope you've answered your question, and please do send more in. So thank you very much. Next up, I'll skip ahead a question and come back to the other one at the end. Holly Williams asks, do we believe in aliens? We've answered the God question. Now we're on to extraterrestrial life. What do we think?
I think in all likelihood there has to be something out there, but I don't think they visited Earth. And I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm highly unconvinced that they will in our lifetime.
Why would they? Be honest, after the events like this week, turn straight around.
You just think of the sheer size of the universe. There's got to be something out there. Yeah. Whatever it looks like, it probably wouldn't be anything particularly human that we would recognize as a person as such. But yeah, there's got to be other life.
I tend to agree. I don't think we're, the typical greys that you see in like the X-Files and I don't know, Close Encounters, those style of aliens. I don't think they exist, but there's got to be some intelligent life out there. Like you say, just the almost infinite scale of the universe. Surely, this the situation where life has appeared on this planet has kind of been replicated elsewhere.
Well, maybe the optimist, there's got to be something better than this.
Yeah, that's kind of where my mind was going. If we're the pinnacle of everything and there is nothing else, then Jesus, something's really gone wrong, hasn't it?
Yeah, we are like a mold, really, aren't we? I suppose just a collection of bacteria and carbon and all this kind of business. So surely that's happened. That's been replicated elsewhere. Surely.
And imagine if there is let's go with a more advanced race, civilization, whatever out there, and they spend all of that time mastering, let's say, speed of light travel to communicate with others, and they get here, they'd be turning around in seconds, wouldn't they? They'd literally get here, start watching kind of the news signals and going, fuck that, what a waste of time this journey was.
It would be like Spock showing up and seeing all the neuroses in my mirror. I mean, fucking waking up New Year's Day and just crying like a bitch because I've got tits. Like, no, let's leave. This is not the planet for me.
But then, I'm exactly on with you guys. Is I think there's got to be some other life in the universe, but not probably anything that we've ever really envisaged in the movies we make. Sorry, it just reminds me of many years ago. Randomly, me and the missus had the day off to go out for a walk, and we were killing a bit of time before we were going to leave. And I don't normally watch This Morning, I really don't, but This Morning was on in the background, and all the way through the episode they'd been trailering that they had a woman coming on who had photographic evidence of aliens existing. And like, I'm aware that there isn't photographic evidence of aliens existing, and I'm also aware that if there was, they wouldn't be showing it on This Morning with Philip Schofield. But it intrigued me enough to sort of say, come on, Andrew, we're going to have to delay the walk. I've got to see what this is. Because I thought it was going to be some really crappy, like, long lens photo of a frisbee in the air or something like that. It was even better. So they've got this lass on there and she's talking, and I can't say she sounded credible, but she certainly seemed convinced herself. And, you know, I can't remember who was with Schofield at the time. I think it was before, I think it's Holly Willoughby or now, but whoever it was with them. And they were and they were kind of trying to, I don't know, speak to her kind of on a level, but you could see they were very, very dubious. But they'd clearly been told that there was going to be a photograph. And it's one of my favourite TV moments ever, because I shit you not, they put up the picture. Now, bearing in mind they've been saying a photograph all the way through, and it was a hand-drawn picture by this lass of an alien standing over in the bed. And it was one of my most favourite moments ever, because they'd obviously been doing it to take the piss out of Schofield and all that as well. And they just all cracked up. But I just thought, amazing. But yeah.
Britain.
Yeah, I think it probably was Fern Britain as well. Yeah. But yeah, an amazing moment in TV for me.
There we go.
I mean, I think if we do ever see aliens in our lifetime, it'll be some kind of slime or a weird lizard of some kind. I don't think it will be anything particularly relatable.
Right. Yes. The Queen will just whip off her face mask and reveal herself to the nation as the lizard queen she is.
Lizard.
Thank you, Holes, for that. Hope we've answered that sufficiently. And finally, Kate Kev asks, and this is one for us, Seddon, being the board game players that we are, and we've kind of neglected that hobby for quite some time.
Pandemics and lockdown aren't really conducive to board game nights, are they?
Indeed. But Kate asks, what is the best board game you've ever played? And I don't think I've ever considered this. You know, we had a week of rating our best films and TV shows of 2020. Do you have a personal favourite? It's not something
Yes, I do.
Oh, go on.
I'm not entirely sure when I say it out loud. Castles of Burgundy. And it kind of is what it says. You're trying to build up a kind of estate involving multiple castles in Burgundy, and it's all about placing tiles and scoring points depending on where you place the tiles. And I think board games are quite hard to get across to people how fun they can be when it's got a subject matter that's as dry as that, and trying to do it kind of orally rather than actually anyone being able to see it. But it has just got like tons of layers to it, and every time I play it, I think I enjoy it more and more, and it gets more and more fun. But yeah, that's the one that always stands out for me. But yeah, I think you're right, Stu. I think for those of us that play a lot of them, and I know you do as well, it's actually quite hard to pick a favourite, because often for me it comes down to what mood I'm in. Yeah. Like, what do I want to play? Because sometimes I want something that's super quick. Sometimes I want something that's a bit more in depth. I was joking about watching Uno. Like, that would be in my top 10. I bloody love it, because it's such a simple concept of laying like card after card following colour or number. But it is just immense fun. But But yeah, Castles of Burgundy is my favourite, but probably not one for beginners. I'd say if you're going to use any recommendation we ever do on board games, and we can pick up on some more board game stuff, but I think that's when you've been playing them for a good year and you've probably gone through all the traditional or the more obvious ones and start branching out into something like that, then
yeah, I think that's a fair point. And I've always wondered why we haven't really spoken about many board games on here, but you're probably right, and I hadn't thought about it. It's probably not the best medium to do it in, really. It's talking about them is probably quite dry, to be honest.
I think unless your audience is already into board games, like if they've got kind of a concept of the play mechanics that you'd be talking about, or that they actually kind of like it. But yeah, it is a bit of a strange way to do it, because it is a very visual medium. You kind of want to see what's being spoken about. I know we talked about it when we were talking about Among Us, but one of the other things, and as I say, I think it comes down to personal preferences. Some of the games like Werewolf and things like that, with the traitor and lion mechanic, they can shoot up to being like my favourites if I'm in the mood for that, and if you've got the right number of people. But yeah, it's a hard hobby, I think, to have. Well, it's not a very good solo hobby, is it? A board game hobby, no. But even with two, you have to be kind of very careful on what games you get, because a lot of them are designed for sort of 4 players or plus. But yeah, there's some great stuff out there. Maybe we will do something going forward, Stu. Like maybe if we can ever get in a room and play board games again, or we figure out something online, then yeah, maybe we can cover some board games going forward.
I've always said if you can do some kind of board game online, I'm game.
Oh, quite literally.
Boom.
There we go.
Done.
Even me. My favourite is the Neighbours game, the exciting game based on the characters from Ramsay Street. That really was a treat.
Can you be bouncer?
Yes. Well,
yes.
You create plots. So
I'm sure we've spoken about
Helen Daniels. Yeah, we have. Yeah, you can create plots like Helen Daniels is having an illicit affair with Bouncer the dog.
See, this sounds like my board game obsession crossed with my TW creating stories for wrestling obsession. This could be the perfect board game for me. And I love Neighbours as well. So
classic Neighbours too, not this new shit.
Oh God! Even before that, but certainly since it went to Channel 5, I don't have adverts in Neighbours. Fuck that! It's BBC One era for me only.
Quite right. I think if I had to answer the question, I think I'd probably go. I think Pandemic is a classic. It's on topic, obviously, but someone on my Facebook page, going back to Facebook for a second, they posted over Christmas that they just played Pandemic, and they were just saying how awesome it was. And this person, from what I know, had never played, board games heavily at all in their life. And that's what I think is so good about that game. It's just such a great gateway into what board games can actually be. You've got the cooperative elements of it. You're trying to save the world from various pandemics, hence the name, that are kind of just break out all over the world. And most people probably haven't played a co-op game before, and
it's rock hard as well. Isn't it? It really
so much
is
replayability. You've got all the expansions, and it's just it is like the model for modern board games, I would say, and it opened my eyes to what board games could be. I think it, without wanting to put words in your mouth, I think it did the same for you guys, and I think that's what without having given much thought, I think that would be my initial.
It is a really good shout, Stu, because I think, God, now we're talking about it, we might as well do a bit about how we got into them. I mean, I'd played board games when I was a kid, like the stuff that probably we all had when we were kids, like Monopolies and Cluedos and things like that. And I think there was a small period of time post that where, I don't know, I think there was a lot more collectible card games, and I'd played a couple of those here and there, but I hadn't really played anything for years and years and years. And I'd gone to yours, and you had Pandemic and said, "Oh, do you want to play?" And I must admit, I was like, I'm not really bothered, but if it's there, we'll do it. And yeah, that's what really kicked off me finding the love for it. And I think because it was such an interesting way of playing a game, and it was nice. It got all of us around a table with a common goal, and that game in particular. I mean, one of the most fun things is naming the diseases, isn't it? Like you can call them whatever you want, and but yeah, it's great, and as you say, that cooperative element to it. There's competitive, cooperative, traitorous. There's so many different ways of playing the game. But yeah, I think that's a really good shout and a really good gateway game, because you do find and hear from a lot of people that it's playing that brought them into board gaming as a hobby later on in life.
Definitely, and it's one of those games that you can pretty much find anywhere. It's not just in your specialist board game shops. It'll be in Waterstones or I don't know, Argos, something like that. Tesco's, they tend to have it sometimes. So
I'm surprised they haven't done branded of that yet, like Simpsons Pandemic or something like that.
Yeah, I think they've done one recently. I'm sure they have. I'll have to come back to that. I'm sure they have, Seddon. Anyway, thanks, Kate, for your question. You might have it sparked some further board game chat going forward. So there we go. Thank you for that. Thank you for your questions. As always, pop along to the Facebook group to submit them if you want us to answer anything during the week. I tend to put up a post every other week or so you can just add them onto the comments there.
Ask away, no matter how absurd.
Indeed. Right. Let's talk about what we've been playing and watching over the Christmas period. I will. Shall I kick things off? Shall I go with you, DRB? I'll go with you first.
Well, can do. I mean, I was really. Let's do it. Like, this is going to be good. I was really hoping to play a bit of old school Final Fantasy over the holidays, because they had some old school titles that were supposed to be coming to Game Pass.
Yes.
So that didn't happen. They will be coming eventually. So didn't really play much. I did watch season 3 of Cobra Kai.
Oh, yes.
Please, someone join me on this. This show is so fucking good. This season, without giving spoilers, I think it continues to just be a great show. Anyway, the unique things is they kind of revisited some of the stuff from Karate Kid Part 2, which obviously was set in Japan. We reviewed that years ago, and gave also a lot of insight into the backstory of John Kreese. And I wasn't really expecting too much here. He's the main villain from the Karate Kid world. I wasn't expecting too much from that, but it was fucking amazing. We got like this mini Vietnam War film interspersed into this show. It was fucking great. And it was cast so well. He looks like a young Kreese. I can't say enough good things about this damn show. It's so good. Fucking hell. Someone join me. One of you.
But the thing is every time I hear like anyone talk about it, including obviously yourself, or I read anything about it, I only ever, other than a couple of lone voices here and there, I only ever hear very complimentary things about it. And I keep sort of saying to myself, I'll stick that on at some point. But there just always seems to be something else that jumps ahead of it in the queue, and I don't know why, but yeah, I will try and crack on and get to it at some point soon, because people just rave about it.
Once you're in, you will be in. I mean, there's 30 episodes now, so
I promise to you,
dive into it.
I will watch the first episode this weekend.
You'll love it. You gave both the Karate Kid films 5 stars. I think you'll love this. I don't get why.
I've seen some of Stu's star ratings recently though, and that doesn't necessarily speak of quality. Although I do agree, they are great movies.
They're great movies, and actually revisiting the characters from Karate Kid Part 2, that was really. I always loved Part 2 better than Part 1. I'm a bit weird like that, but. That was just really interesting to me, and how, other than something like Star Wars, how often do you get to go back into the lore of 80s films? It's a joy. It's a real joy. Go watch it.
So very, very strangely, speaking of going back, and I don't know why, but I've just literally had an email appear on my screen to tell me that Now TV has added Are You Being Served Series 3.
Oh, lovely.
And don't get me wrong, I liked Are You Being Served, but I just wonder why every TV show that's on Now TV, they've decided to tell me explicitly that Series 3 of Are You Being Served is on
Those
there.
algorithms don't lie.
I know. Well, I did watch the Are You Being Served movie on there recently.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but...
That'd be why. It's just a fucking amazing show. That's literally all I can say about it. Just go watch it. You will enjoy it. I guarantee.
I will also sign up for the pledge that Stu has made, and I will watch at least the first episode. And again, I guess I imagine from you having watched it, DRB, is it's probably going to be one of those things that if I enjoy episode 1, I'm probably watching episode 2, 3, and as much time as I've got, I'll probably plow through stuff. So
there's no way neither of you will watch just one. You'll either watch none or 15. So
how long are the episodes? Are they?
They're generally about 20 minutes. Okay. I think the season finales are a bit longer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. Anything else, DRB?
Have I watched anything else? I don't think I have, actually. Generally, I've been, you know what I'm like. Christmas time is only Fools and Horses time, so that's pretty much all I've watched. Other than that, and we don't really need to go over that again, do we? So no, that's about it, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you. You've inspired me to go and watch Cobra Kai, so there is that.
I'm passionate about that. I really am. Watch it.
Well, and I think you said it on one of the episodes, either over the awards season or just before that, about one of the nice things about doing this podcast has been when people either on the Facebook or people that we know in the real world have sort of said, I watched something because you guys recommended it and it sounded interesting. Yeah. And at the very least, I think, we could do that for each other as well. It's pretty rum if we're going, watch this because I think it's good, but fuck off. I'm not watching anything that anyone else in here talks about.
I might have been guilty of ignoring a couple of things. That's fine.
But availability and desire also have to come into it, don't they? Like, some things you just listen, you go, that's not up my alley. But God, like the amount we spout on about movies from that kind of era that really it's probably been written and designed for us. So God, we just need to get off our arse and watch it, I guess.
Thank you, DRB. Sorry, was someone going to add something there?
No, just over to you.
Okay. Right. I shall go now, and I'm kind of going to go with something that I thought was absolutely shit, and something that was absolutely brilliant for I did a lot of stuff over Christmas. I watched a lot of telly. I watched a lot of movies. I played a lot of video games, but I kind of wanted to distill it into I didn't want to talk about everything. I just wanted to kind of talk about the highlights and the lowlights. I thought that's the best way to go. But I will just kick off with some honourable mentions first. That's stuff that hasn't quite made the cut for me. I just want to say that I think I might be done with Marvel's Avengers in the sense that I have ground out every character to their highest level of level 50. That includes the first DLC character of Kate Bishop / is she she's Hawkeye, isn't she? She's a Hawkeye. Yeah. So I don't really want to get them all to level 150 power, which is the level for the gear pickups that you get. So I've got the Hulk to 150, so I think that's pretty much me done until there's any more significant.
Like a quitter, Stu. Sounded like a quitter.
I think I've
150
got my
for them.
I was tempted. I was tempted to platinum it as well, but I don't think. This is other stuff I want to play now. So yeah, but I got my fun out of that game. Honorable mention for something I've watched, Clone Wars. I'm kind of watching that with Benj. That's a great experience. Do you know, I've created an absolute monster with that boy. He loves his Star Wars. Yeah. Absolutely loves it now. I think he actually loves it more than I do. It's nice to see, but he's humming the Imperial March all the time. He's killing it for me slightly, but no, it is nice to see, and that has always been my dream, to be honest, to have my boy.
It is his mother's theme tune, though, isn't
it? It is. Yeah, that's a good one. He does actually time it to every time she enters the room.
Damn right.
So, but yeah, Clone Wars, for those that don't know, is the animated series that Dave Filoni, who is now showrunner for The Mandalorian, and this was during the time when George Lucas still had, the reins of Star Wars. It was a TV show that was set during the Clone Wars, that period between episodes 2 and 3. It fills out the backstory of
the classic times, the great times.
Well, some people don't like those prequels. Me being one of them, but the Clone Wars is actually really good. I have not learnt, but it does a good job of making those films a bit more palatable in a way, because the characters do become more fleshed out. There are instances when you think, did they really fit all this in between the time span of these two films? But there is some kind of, there is some suspension of belief that you do need to put in there. But yeah, I think that's what I'm enjoying about it more, is how it's expanding, the Star Wars lore, like really going outside of the stuff that you see in the films, particularly in Series 3, which is what I'm up to. They're doing a lot about, as they would, the Force. They're kind of expanding into the backstory of Darth Maul from the Phantom Menace, and his beginnings, and where he's from, his origins, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's really.
Is it done, Stu? Like, is it like finished now, or are there still new episodes coming out and new seasons?
So the last series premiered on Disney Plus last year, so it is done now. But yeah, right. They did finish it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, because originally it was Cartoon Network, wasn't it?
I don't know, quite honestly. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think I don't know much. I don't have much knowledge of the production of it, really. I kind of just stumbled upon it and thought, well, it's a cartoon.
I only ask because you're sort of saying about it being slotted between two movies, and that kind of concept of going, well, if they got up to like season 35 of it, like you'd be going, surely it's really stretching the belief that this happened in the space of 6 months or however long the gappage was between those films.
Well, I'm kind of starting to get that feeling. Yeah. I'm starting to get
Korea for 11 years.
I do get that feeling. I'm only on Series 3, it's but I think you just have to. I think you'd struggle with it because without your love of the Mandalorian, which we need to speak about at some point still.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a week or two.
But yeah, I think you do need to. There is a bit of a suspension of disbelief there. You do need to kind of just go with it, I guess is the term. But
I just want to, before we go into the Mandalorian when we do it, and I just want it on record, because this is a record of going, I have zero problem with suspending disbelief.
Okay.
I just want it to make sense in its own universe. That's all. Because I don't think that's hard to do. I think, you kind of set their own rules when they write a story. And one of the things is it has to make a degree of sense in what it set up itself, especially if it's actually working from source material that already exists. Like as I say, like one of my favorite things, I know we talked about it previously, was like the two Bill and Ted's movies. I still haven't seen the third one, and I go, well, but at no point am I going to argue that shit could actually really happen. So I'm happy to suspend, but it just can't be poorly written and bad. That's not suspending disbelief. That's just doing a poor job of creating something, I think.
I think what Star Wars does struggle with is because the lore is so kind of split over, they've got comics, they've got, video games, they've got TV shows and films, and pretty much all of it is strictly canon. You kind of write yourself into knots because you've got to kind of... Well,
except for when they choose for it not to be canon. Because it's not convenient, and you may well have invested a lot of time into I know they've done that before with sort of some of the book series and the comic book series and stuff like that, and certainly I think when they moved into the world of Disney, they just went, we're not really interested in anything that we don't physically own and can monetize, so we'll just get rid of that. But so it's only canon for as long as they choose it to be.
The holiday specials.
Yeah.
But Chewie doesn't have a son called Lumpy. Lumpy, what a great name.
Yeah, I think that should still be canon.
It probably should. It is in my eyes anyway. But yeah, so no, we'll talk about that, won't we? I need to prepare my defence tonight.
And I mean, I think when we get to it, there's and I think probably in a lot of this stuff, there's there'll be a discussion around enjoying something and it being well produced or well written, and fuck it, anyone could enjoy anything. I enjoy some stuff that I would say is absolutely appallingly written, but I still enjoy it. Like, I think there's just a dividing line there, isn't there? And like, you never want to take the fun away. I mean, shit, this life's bleak enough as it is. If you find that you enjoy something, just enjoy it. But yeah, I'll certainly tear that show to fucking pieces when I get a chance, because it's awful. But I don't dispute that obviously loads of people really enjoy it, so good on them. But never tell me it's good, because it's not.
And lastly for me is my honourable mentions anyway, is Death to 2020, which was the Charlie Brooker jobby on Netflix, you know, his end of year review of the year that was 2020. You know, he typically used to do these on BBC Two with like Newswipe and Screenwipe and stuff, but this, I don't know, I guess he's been given some big bucks by Netflix to produce something exclusively for them. And, you know, as much material as as 2020 should give someone in satirical comedy, I didn't really enjoy it. I thought it was a bit, I don't know, it felt a bit safe, if nothing else. You know, it kind of just, there was nothing, the jokes were kind of expected. You know, it just didn't, I don't know. With Newswipe and stuff, it felt like Brooker was being a bit more risque, I guess. But this felt very by the numbers, I guess is how I would explain it. I don't know if you've seen it, Seddon, or...
No, I was hugely excited for this. It was on my radar as one of the things coming out that I wanted to watch the most, and you and Mid saw it first and you sucked the life out of me, so I'm going to leave it a couple of weeks before I watch it. Strangely enough, I kind of get what you're saying, but I mean, the reason why it was on Netflix is because he does Black Mirror through Netflix.
Oh, of course he does.
And this is kind of, I got the feeling that probably this was more of a comedy Black Mirror episode than a Newswipe kind of thing. So maybe that's why the humour's slightly probably of a different kilter. So yeah, I get the feeling it was leaning more towards the sort of stuff that he was doing with Black Mirror. But yeah, I'm going to leave it a couple of weeks before I get to it, because I'm not as excited about it anymore.
Well, I don't get why some people will stay safe, but someone like Sacha Baron Cohen will go all in and get away with it. Like, like, just go for it. This is open season. This has been a horrific year. Exactly. Have at it.
The thing is, I mean, like, I'd say, like, Black Mirror wise, which obviously, I mean, is a lot of the episodes have a kind of black, dark humour to it. But in that, I never really feel like he ventures to safety. Like, I think like he kind of takes a lot of risks in it. And I mean, maybe it was just a creative decision to kind of go, this is my impression of it, and this is what I want to say about it. Like, rather than
I don't know. You and me haven't seen it. Only Stu has. Yeah. But, I mean, it would seem weird to pull back when we've had such a brutal year.
Perhaps he thought, we've experienced enough. Let's take it easy. You know,
the only thing I was going to say, Stu, is it wasn't just you and Mid in your reviews that made me not want to watch it. It was watching the trailer and seeing that Samuel L. Jackson was in it, and I thought, oh Jesus Christ, that man's in everything. Like,
they do the they get big name stars in to act as, you know, talking heads, to talk us through the year. To be fair, the best of which is Hugh Grant as I think he's like a historian or something, but he just gets pissed. I don't know, something about Hugh Grant is just it appeals to me in his latter years. He just doesn't give a fuck. I quite like him, but anyway. So they're my honourable mentions: Marvel's Avengers, Clone Wars Series 3, and Death to 2020. I said I was going to go from the sublime to the ridiculous, and my ridiculous entry is Cats, which I saw over Christmas.
Good God, why?
Well,
he wasn't the only one. I also watched over Christmas.
I couldn't get through it.
Now, I've seen the music, just for some context, I've seen the musical. I saw the musical when I was, well, I want to say like 10 or 11 on a school trip. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I had no idea what the hell was going on in that musical. It had some catchy tunes. I liked Magical Mr. Mistopheles and Memories, obviously. I'm not sure who was singing that version in the stage show. Elaine Page, I would assume. I don't know. But I came out of this film hoping that I would understand it a bit better. But no, I think I understood it less than I did as an 11-year-old boy. But I genuinely don't know what's going on in the story. It felt like some kind of X Factor competition, but for cats, for stray cats. Some bizarre, like, computer generated graphics throughout the whole film. You know, they couldn't just get people in cat costumes. They had to kind of, you know, they animate awfully. For some reason, they couldn't just stick with how they, you know, the actors were moving around and dancing. It feels like there's like jerky animation for all of the dancing pieces, and for a musical with a lot of dance in it, it's just very, very jarring. You know, Cats seems to have like a very ballet-like kind of dance style about it, but they kind of ruin all that. I sound very poncy now, I appreciate it, but you know. But yeah, it was absolutely goddamn awful. Dame Judi Dench is in it, and she can't sing a note. The finer point of it was Jennifer Hudson singing Memories. That's probably the best version of that song. You know, I would say it knocks Elaine Page out the park, to be honest. It is a very good version of that classic song. But yeah, a very strange film. And I still didn't understand what was going on. Fucking awful, I thought. But
I'm not sure why they did it.
No,
that was kind of my feeling at the end of it as well, of going, I don't really know why they did this. I guess to make a lot of money was the plan. Well, but yeah, it does seem like, unlike Stu, I'd never seen the stage show, and I'm not a big sort of stage show kind of person, but it's one of the ones of people I know who do. It's one of the ones that I often hear has got like kind of the least plot and story, and it is all about the songs. If you like the songs, you kind of like it. But yeah, it just seemed like a strange transition into a movie with so little plot to run behind it. It was weird. I mean, like on a star rating, I rated it 1 out of 5, which I guess doesn't really hold it up in a great light. But do you know what? I didn't actually think it was as bad as I thought it was going to be. But I think that probably suggests how bad I thought it was. But yeah, I mean, certainly I wouldn't have thought many people would find it enjoyable, other than if you've got an hour and a half. Oh, I think I say an hour and a half. I'm not even sure how long it was.
It did whiz by. I will say that it didn't feel like a long film.
But you know, if you want to listen to a succession of songs, and while that successions of songs are playing, looking at a screen where there are lots of people who are CGI cats, then yeah, fill your boots. But it was just an odd endeavour for me, and I didn't like a lot of the songs either, which probably didn't make me enjoy it anymore. And certainly it was filled of what I would term as Hollywood cunts, rather than people that I actually want to see on the telly, on my movies. Yeah. So, but yeah, so I mean, it was a real sort of tough one for me. But yeah, I'd say ultimately, probably, I must admit, I think at the end of it, I was surprised. Like last year, that was the movie that got kind of the most flack, wasn't it? It was the kind of vilified movies, and don't get me wrong, I don't think it should have been revered or probably given much credit. But having watched it, I wasn't sure why it was panned so as much as it was, because it felt like it just existed. I think there's probably worse movies made of it, and I know you were saying about the jerkiness of the animation, but I didn't even think that was that bad. I think it was poorly conceived, but I don't think it was that badly delivered on.
I did get my eye in after a while.
Good,
to be fair.
Go on, Steve.
I was just going to say I did get used to it. I don't think it wasn't. I think it was only in certain scenes that I noticed that more. I think as the film went on, I think whether they paid more attention to the latter scenes, or I don't know, if the scene I watched was particularly jerky, just didn't have the time spent on it. But that wasn't representative of the whole film, I guess. It did get better.
I was going to say, I think musicals, a little bit like comedy, it's got to be really good to pass the bar in film. It's difficult to make a good comedy film. They're either amazing or dog shit. And this is kind of one of those examples, I think. Like, even if you think Grease is stupid, it conjures up feelings and it's just fun to watch. that passes the bar. This didn't.
The strange thing being that it was, directed by Tom Hooper, who had done Les Mis, which I thought was fantastic. So this was a huge disappointment coming off of that.
Apologies if I've told this before, but I can never hear you say Les Mis without remembering being sat in the cinema with you during Les Mis. And when Jean Valjean sings that first tune, you just turning around to us and going, "It's not all like this, is it?" And we was like, "Well, yeah, it's a fucking musical, mate. Like, of course it's all like this."
Yes, yeah. Yes. I'm not going to live that down, am I?
No, it would have stayed with me forever. I love it. But again, I think probably after making a grand, I'm sure in his head he probably thought he was making something very, very grand and great, and off of material that, Cats was, as far as I'm aware, like relatively successful for a long period of time. So you could see why they think formulaic wise, like people would flood out to see it. But I don't know, it just just existed for me.
Yeah, I suppose, like I said earlier, why did they make this? I suppose there's never been a definitive film version of Cats. Maybe that was why he was trying to do it, to make that epic thing, but it didn't work at all.
No. Speaking of those Hollywood cunts, James Corden. Only when things just can't get worse enough, up pops James Corden.
Yeah,
king
that
of the
never helps.
No, as a fat camp cat. Like I say, Judi Dench, she was awful. Jennifer Hudson was okay. And to be fair, I don't know the actress who played the lead role. I should probably try and look for this.
I can't remember. I did look it up.
Francesca Hayward. I thought she was pretty good. She plays Victoria the White Cat, who's kind of like your protagonist in the whole story. I don't know. But give credit where credit is due. I thought she was very good. But yeah, I still don't know what a jellicle cat is. I don't think I ever will.
One of the weird things that I really struggled with, and I don't know why, that suspension of disbelief thing we were talking about earlier, me saying I'm perfectly willing to suspend my disbelief. Well, I actually kind of was willing to suspend my disbelief for animated cats, and CGI cat people. But it was the fact that everything else in the world was so much bigger than them. Like, as they were trotting around the room, that they weren't the size of what a cat would be. Yeah. And that was really throwing me off in it. I was going, that chair should be smaller, that sort of thing. And that just kept drawing me out of it. But that was a very personal thing. And I realised that was a very stupid thing, don't get me wrong. But yeah, every time I saw like a kind of inanimate object in the background, I kept going, well, like cats aren't that small. They'd be bigger than this. But anyway.
One of the
I also think it's a little bit dangerous to cast big stars in musicals because you kind of want to get to meet the characters, but you're just looking at James Corden and thinking, fuck off.
Well, and as you said about the main lass in it, I think having those, like, it felt like she was there to transition between the next star cunt that was going to appear 5 minutes later. I think it didn't do the actual real kind of talented singers and actors that were in it to just be, I don't know, fluff in between a celebrity wanker appearing.
Yeah. So, it wasn't the most. I think it's worth seeing just to see how bad it is. It does have that kind of quality about it.
Yeah, maybe we're being a bit too harsh, but yeah.
Well, as I say, I didn't think it was as bad as what had been indicated to me. Like, it wasn't for me, that's for certain. But yeah, it wasn't the horror show that all of the panning that it got. I thought it didn't fall to those levels. I don't think in a decade's time it will be one of those films that I revisit because it's so bad it become enjoyable or something. I don't think it had that quality to me. I think it was just decidedly below average and not my cup of tea.
I think to end on a positive note for the film, I would say it's a very jarring opening to it. That first half, there's no real plot. It does feel like it's going from, celebrity cunt cat to celebrity cunt cat, and then when the story kind of kicks in with Jennifer Hudson's character and the competition to find a jellicle cat, whatever the fuck that means. But there is a narrative that kind of comes in in the second half of the film. That's when it does get a bit better. And I certainly did enjoy the second half more than the first half. It's yeah, it's passable, you know.
I thought it was worrying times when it was a musical, which is not necessarily my forte, but the ones that I like, I really do like. And Andrew is quite a fan. And the minute I said I'm going to watch that, she said, "Well, I'm going to bed then." And just like she rejected it before it even got on the telly. So I probably should have known at that point.
Good on her.
Yeah.
So that was my low light over Christmas, really. My highlight in terms of what I watched was a film from Netflix, a 2018 film from Netflix called Freaks. And I vaguely remember Midge speaking about this. I could be making this up. I'm sure he mentioned this at some point, saying that he enjoyed it.
Rings a bell.
It was me, mate.
Was it? Was it you?
It was me.
Thank you, Seddon. I loved it. Absolutely loved this film. It's it was one of those films that kind of reveals its narrative as you go along. It's very much like what's that Cloverfield one called, where there's the girl in the bunker.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Very much in that style, where you kind of introduced to this girl and what it appears to be her father. You know, they're kind of secluded away from society. He doesn't want her to go out. They keep mentioning like the term freaks, and you know that they've got people will be out to get them if they go outside. So you don't know what's going on in the outset of the film, but as you know the plot opens up and you get fed little bits of detail about the backstory and what's actually going on, it kind of builds to a crescendo and ends where they fill in all these blanks. And I don't want to explain those blanks to you, the listener, because it will ruin most of the film. But yeah, it's a really kind of interesting piece about society. I think quite relevant about today, about society and how you know others are treated. You know the other. Whether it's someone of a different race, a different ethnicity, whatever it may be, and how they're treated in the wider society. So it's quite an appropriate film.
I think you're spot on, Stu, as well with how it delivers that story. Because it's going to go a certain way. Like once it's filmed, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. But it does quite a few times in it put you as the watcher kind of wondering which way you're going to go with this, and does it effectively, where I think a lot of movies often fail at that. You just know where it's going, whereas this did it interesting enough and certainly sort of kept me going and interested in it. And I thought some of the performances were excellent as well. From actors of old, so Emil Hirsch, wasn't it? That's the dad in it, and was it Bruce Dern as the grandpa? But yeah, I thought it was a cracking little number, and it was one of those that made me go, what else have they made? So I looked at what the director had made, and this actually was the most recent thing that they'd actually directed. But I guess there's a life lesson there, because I thought, well, what else had they made before this then to go and have a look? And previous to this, they'd only made Leprechaun Origins, which I wasn't really going to go and do, and a sort of kind of Disney TV series. But I guess it shows that people do kind of build up and further their career from it. But yeah, no, it's a very interesting movie to watch. And as you say, like, I think I'd stumbled across it rando, like it was late one night and I think I was flicking through and maybe it was like at the front of one of the lists or something like that, so just watched it, and it was a real treat to find.
It was. I'd only heard about it for myself, and it's one of those films that you word of mouth probably does, it can do wonderful things. And just if you do have a spare 90 minutes and go out and watch this, it's a really kind of tight thriller. Yeah, it is a thriller. It's kind of intriguing. It's a very intriguing film. And like I say, with the way it reveals its narrative, as we say, is very interesting, and I loved it. I really did.
Sorry, just to clarify, something I just said, they have made something post that. It's the Kim Possible TV movie, which I believe is available on Disney Plus right now.
That's bizarre.
Excellent.
Wow, I would not put them down for then following up with that. That's crazy. But there you go. I guess you've got to take a paycheck at some point, haven't you?
Yeah. Got to do the one for Disney.
Yeah. That's more watching. Gameplay wise, I guess we'll kind of speak about a cross purposes at this one, Seddon, is we've been playing Minecraft, getting right into Minecraft.
Fallen down that mine hole, haven't we?
Yeah, so I've been playing Minecraft on and off for. I was totaling it up. I think it's about 3 or 4 years. Ever since Benj first arrived, I don't quite know how I got into it, but just kind of Amanda and I just wanted something to play together, like split screen on our PS4 at the time, and we chose Minecraft because her brother was playing it and he was enjoying it, and we just kind of gave it a go. It's the biggest selling game of all time. I'd never really given it a proper go. I'd dabbled in it for the odd hour here and there, but I finally gave it a go.
You learned from a quiz.
Indeed, yes, I did learn that fact from you. And we gave it a go and loved it. And kind of, it's one of those games that you can kind of have periods playing it and periods away from it, but back in it again at the moment. We've got a realm going where Seddon is on there and one of our other friends. You can share a world and build collaboratively. And it's just great fun. It's very therapeutic. I think that's the takeaway for me. Is it is just a chill out game. You can put a podcast on or listen to an album and just chip away at some rocks, get creative. Amanda and myself are working away at a medieval castle. It's like amazing. Lego in that sense. Thank you.
I've visited the work they've done so far, and it is amazing to behold the amount of effort you guys have put into it.
But the thing is with that is we're doing it from a book. It's like a Lego instruction manual in the sense that they give you these exploded kind of diagrams of how it all comes together, and then we're just copying that and building away. And there's it gives you kind of little. I'm currently making a portcullis, with an actual working contraption that'll make it go up and down. You can build like electrical circuits in this game. It's crazy. And that's another thing I love about it. It's just so deep. I'll probably be playing this for another 5 years and still not learn everything about it. Just how you can craft certain materials and objects, the different crafting trees, what you have to craft to then craft something else, and so on and so forth. Yeah, love it. It's such a, I don't know, it's an enriching game. I think it's very chill out.
I think, so as I say, you said about Amanda's brother. I think that's how I started playing it as well. Because I think he was doing some, I think he was doing, I don't know whether he was on Twitch, but there was something or like he put on Facebook, I think, about it. So it's going back, I think, roughly around the same sort of time. You guys sort of jumped into it, and I think I'd seen like a couple of posts, and he was talking about like kind of the relaxation element of it, of going into that world, and not that I particularly needed relaxing at the time, but I think it was a bit of kind of going, this is a massively selling game, and there's someone who I know by extension sort of saying, for this, let's give it a go. And I think I was actually around my mum's one Sunday, and I think the family were annoying the shit out of me, and I had my PC there, so I thought, well, now's the time to start playing it, and got quite into it almost instantaneously. And back then we kind of that same realm that we're kind of in now, we all tooled around on that for a little while, didn't we? I think Midge come into it as well, and stuff like that, but kind of, I don't say fell out of love with it, but we live in a world where there are thousands of games out there, aren't there? And there's, we talk about the cupboard of games that I've got that I'll never play, but we'll carry on buying and adding to. So I think it is a game where you can lose hours upon hours upon hours, and sometimes you just walk away from it for a while because you do want to sort of cleanse the palate and try something else. But certainly, and I think it was actually you against you, sort of like pre-Christmas time, maybe kind of talking about how you guys had gone back to building the castle, and it just kind of made me go, oh, do you know what? It's been ages since I've done that. I might as well kind of download it and have a little mess around. And I found the love for it again very, very quickly. And one of the things that I think really speaks to how many hours you can lose, and again, I think like it becomes apparent very, very quickly how bad me missus has it. But I think it was like this week, it's about let's say 10:30, and I think she'd dozed off on the sofa, and I think she'd woken up to me sitting there just chiseling away at rocks, mining. And she went, I'm going to go to bed. And then I think she come down about 3:00 in the morning and just walked into the lounge. And, a bit of stone looks like a bit of stone. So I think she basically just walked in and saw me doing exactly the same thing I'd been doing 4 hours beforehand when she was in there, and said, "Are you still just digging?" And I was like, "Yes." And now, like, that's something she now says of an evening. She says, "Are you going to spend the evening digging this evening? Because if you are, I'll just read a book." But it is, I don't know, that's what I just do a lot of the time. I just dig for and again, you dig to get resources to build stuff, but I'm not entirely unconvinced that sometimes I don't just dig for the sake of digging, but I actually really enjoy it. It's great. It's weird fun. And as you say, like, it really seems to get its hooks into a lot of people of all ages. Like, my nieces play it, and they play it very kind of differently to us. I refer to them playing it as they're fucking little cheats as far as I'm concerned, because they don't have to put the effort in. So they play on creative mode, where you can just create stuff. You don't actually need the bits to create. And as I keep telling them, what you're not preparing yourself is for the drudgery of real life. Mm-hmm. You think everything's going to come easy to you, but what you need to learn right now is life is going to grind you down, you little shits. But it captures so many different people. But yeah, great fun, and God, the hours I've ploughed into that in the last couple of weeks, really, really amazing. At the moment, you said, Stu, about you could probably play it forever or for a long period of time and never really find everything you can do in it. But I've even gone the other way and gone the weird shit you end up doing. So and again, poor Andrea, for 3 hours the other night, she had to sit there and listen to me as I was trying to destroy a mountain from within, but trying to destroy it so that the physics of water in the game, because there was a bit of water at the top of it, so I could try and create a mountain that is totally just water, so it would be suspended in midair, whilst hoping that by doing that I could flood the whole world, including the part of the world you're in, Stu, and turn it into Kevin Costner's water world. And I've not quite got there yet, but I'm still trying.
Best hurry up with my portcullis then, really.
I think you're going to need to, because I am going to flood this world at some point.
The great flooding of the realm.
And one of our
reservoir.
I was going to say, one of our friends that plays on there as well. I have been having some discussions without you, Stu, about could we kind of dig so much under the world that it kind of collapses everything. So, like, could we dig under your castle to the point where it would just collapse within? We're not going to do it, I promise, but it was just like, conceptually, could we do it?
Like all the load bearing bits of dirt. Yeah. It just implodes on itself.
And weirdly enough, and after I thought, could that be done? What I spent a lot of hours last night doing was going under where my house is and reinforcing that with lots of like chunky stone. About 4 hours last night just doing that, because now that I thought of it as a concept, I thought someone else might think to drill under my base and sink my base.
It does have its moments of bullshittery. I mean, there was many evenings this week where Amanda and I had to go out. We needed some slime. It's a vital ingredient in the creation of some sticky pistons for our portcullis, our front gate, effectively. So we had to go, and now these slimes are only found in certain areas, i.e. swamp biomes, I believe. So out we went, night after night, dying. Even when we did acquire like the required amount of slime, we then had to get back, because one of the issues with Minecraft is, trying to find your way is an absolute nightmare.
I'm pretty bad in real life, but in that game, I am bullshit at finding my way around. I get lost. I could literally walk for 10 seconds away from where my base is and be lost and not be able to find my way back.
It is truly difficult. So, even though if we ever acquired this slime, we would always then get lost and just die on our way home, losing all our stuff. So, yeah, night after night, we just failed at that. We had to rely on Seddon, who was obviously digging at the time, as he does.
Yeah.
He obviously found some slimes under the,
I'm journeying to the centre of that earth. I really am.
He kindly...
How am I single and you two aren't?
The The trick is DRB is you need to trap them beforehand. you need to fully get them into the Stockholm syndrome mentality before you unleash the 85 hours of Minecraft.
Bloody hell! Minecraft marathons.
Yeah,
it is a fair point he makes there. To be fair, but yeah, still loving Minecraft, and we'll continue to play it for some time, no doubt. And that is me.
Nice.
Shall we take a break, or just then? Have you got much to take us home with?
I wasn't going to go through a ton. I mean, probably much like you said, Stu, there's a lot of bits and bobs I've watched over the period, but I figured over the coming weeks I can kind of pass them out over a period of time. And as we've done a lot on Minecraft and cats, that's a kind of a lot of what I've done. But there was just a couple of things I was going to pick up on outside of that. And firstly, it was around what have you been playing? And we talked about heading into the new year. And, I think you go into a new year every year. And I know a lot of people make resolutions, and it's a time for change, and it's a time for doing things a bit differently. But I seem to have transitioned into the new year and gone back to last year again, because I've spent pretty much the whole time gaming. I did get some games for Christmas, and I have bought some games for my PS5, etc., etc. But yeah, I've played a ton of Minecraft, as we say. So going back in the past, I carried on with Total Extreme Wrestling, and then decided to buy the new Football Manager game. So any game in time that I have had has pretty much been Minecraft or Football Manager. I won't talk about Football Manager for too long, because it is Football Manager 20, so this is 21. So it's Football Manager 20 again, but with updated squads and 2 new features. And I will say the 2 new features are decent. There's it's going to sound weird when I say that, how decent they are, but one of them's a slight change to the way the match engine shows, where it's a lot easier to see the match stats on a static screen, and that's quite decent. But the main one is you have a transfer meeting with your chairman once a month, and it's just a really nice little addition to the game. But yeah, it's pretty much the same game again, and I bloody love it again. I've already fallen into the rabbit hole. I've got 4 different saves going already. And so when I'm not playing Minecraft, because I do try and give the TV up so that it can be used for other purposes, I'm pretty much just sat there with the laptop playing Football Manager. Yeah, ultra addictive. I would say that probably if you own 20, you don't need to buy 21, but probably you can go back to maybe 5 or 6 Football Managers ago to say that was the last time you actually needed to buy one, because they don't change that much. But there is an attractiveness to getting the new one. And when I picked it up, it had I think 15 quid knocked off of it, and I had some Steam voucher, so it didn't really cost as much in the pocket. But yeah, that's been taking up all of my time. But I do think in the next couple of weeks I will actually play some other games, because we said earlier about the palette cleansers. I do kind of need to play something a bit different every now and again.
I was just going to ask, can you transfer your saves over in those games?
What, from like 20 to 21 and things like that? You can convert. I mean, I think most of the time you generally wouldn't. You probably just keep playing it through on 20, because I don't think it brings a lot more to it if you pulled those saves through. And the stats for the players and things like that don't generally sort of change. It's not like they add in new skill sets for players every year or anything like that. But because they are changed in the base game, a year's moved on and a player might be perceived as being better now. You tend to not want to bring old save games in anyway. And like Midge also is a bit of a Football Manager obsessive, as I am, and I know that he has saves that are still running on 20 and 19 like I do, that I go back and revisit every now and again, and I wouldn't necessarily pull them into the new game, because I quite like going back to the older versions every now and again.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And the only other movie thing I wanted to touch on, because I think we've done a bit of a bit of a bad movie is I thought I'd actually kind of cover something that I really enjoyed. And I guess this was the real highlight of my movie watching over Christmas. And it was the new Pixar movie, Soul. I think it came out on Christmas Day, didn't it? Or it was released on Disney Plus on Christmas Day.
It was,
yeah.
And I watched it on Boxing Day. And I'm quite a fan of Pixar stuff in general, although I do often find there's kind of two camps for Pixar stuff for me. There's the stuff that I think of more in the vein of Up, and then there's the stuff that's more in the vein of, let's say, like Monsters Inc. and Cars. It's Cars, isn't it? And I certainly lean to the kind of Up, Coco-esque Pixar more than anything else. And Soul was in that arena for me. It's.
Well, hang on, you didn't like Monsters Inc.?
Oh no, I don't. It's not that I don't like it. I just find I like the, as I say, that sits, I would say, in more of the funnier category. Whereas I think I like Up and Soul and Inside Out, albeit funny, I think I'm more leaning towards the emotional, heart-wrenching side than the humour side that comes with Monsters Inc. and things like that.
Personally, I would put Monsters Inc. on that side of things rather than Cars or Planes already. Well, I think so, but agree to disagree.
I mean, probably regardless. Like it's a bad connection because I think Cars is at that, for me, that's their worst kind of element. And I think, Monsters Inc. is probably an unfair side-by-side comparison. But I don't know, there just seems to be like a bit of a line for me. And possibly it's who's directing them and who's writing them. But I think from a storytelling style and sometimes from a visual style, because I did find that Soul shared a lot of visual stylings with Inside Out. But I thought it was wonderful. It just scratched that Pixar itch for me of sucking me into the world that they've created almost instantaneously and feeling an emotional connection with the characters. And, this one very much is about the human, well, probably some of the stuff we talk about in here, but like humans probably getting obsessed overly with the idea of they're on the planet to do something, or there has to be a greater destiny. And in this case, the main character is a music teacher, but is at heart, or in his head, he's a jazz musician who has never had that chance at greatness. And all he needs is that one opportunity to get that breakthrough moment. And that's what a lot of the film is about, is he gets an opportunity at having a breakthrough moment by performing with a reasonably well-known in the universe jazz band. And then a big incident happens. And I think I can go into this without being a spoiler. He dies because the movie is Soul. And then for a lot of the rest of the movie, he is betwixt and between earth and heaven, where souls are. And the idea is that before you transition onto the next place, you prepare souls to be entering into children's bodies. So, like what will become the kind of next lot of human beings. And it's just great. And, they're I'm not going to say it's sort of like Shakespeare or genius written, but so much of it is about the journey of this character. And I think we can all feel something when we watch a story like this, or read a story if we're doing it in book format, of you see bits of yourself in it and you go, there have been times where I thought, like, why am I here? Or probably less why am I here, but what is my destiny? And if only I could do this thing, like, it would make my life worthwhile. And it's about what does make life worthwhile. And great, really, really great movie. Definitely watch it. I wouldn't say it's their best, but I'd say it's in their top 3. And well acted, well performed, and again, funny where it needs to be funny. It's got enough larks in there to make you really give a shit when the sad and bad things happen. I'm
certainly getting Inside Out vibes.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Just looking at it.
It is very much, and the as I say, the art style and a lot of the story beats that it touches on is very Inside Outy. A lot about that human condition and what makes us a human and what drives us. But actually, things might drive us, but are they really ultimately important? And learning what is really important in life.
Life lessons.
bless you, Disney, for telling me what's important about this. But I mean, that's you know,
you for making me cry.
I rail on Disney a lot, but this is where like I kind of this is Disney at its best for me, and I think what a lot of Disney products have moved away from over the years because we don't get as many of the, I guess, the classic style Disney animated. You know, it is, and you know, I like the Marvel movies and I like some of the Star Wars stuff, but that heart of Disney doesn't always appear to be there. But I think Pixar has become the heart of Disney products now.
Yeah, that's the heart branch of Disney, for lack of a better term, isn't it? I mean, wherever they left off, I guess for Lion King, well, they had a couple after that, didn't they? Hercules and what have you. But you know, they went into that 3D world, merged with Pixar, and that's sort of that branch now, isn't it?
Yeah. And you know, like thanks to my mysterious benefactor, because I wouldn't have been able to see that on Boxing Day if a mysterious benefactor wasn't supplying some Disney material for me. Please don't come and arrest me, Disney. But you know, it's that sort of quality and level of product that I mean, I still wouldn't subscribe to Disney because there's just not enough stuff that they produce that interests me, and I am quite fearful of companies having their own streaming services because it worries me that if every company did this, then ultimately as a consumer you're having to sign up for so many streaming services to watch across the board, and if you don't, like, so say if in 3 years time all that's left is Disney Plus, then all I'm going to get is what Disney want to produce, and I wouldn't get to watch a movie like Freaks if all that was out there was Disney Plus. But I think if they continue to produce stuff of that quality, then yeah, I could see a bit more justification for it. But certainly that seems to be the rarity of what's put on there for me rather than the norm. But
I mean, together the business model, but also the pandemic. I mean, they're not sending stuff to the pictures anymore, are they? Yeah. So well, I mean, the need for it.
And I think, you know, that's going to be. I mean, we've seen a lot of that. It's HBO are picking up all of the Warner Brothers movies for the whole year, aren't they? Even when the cinemas are open. So I think it's going to be that's going to be very impactful for the UK for a long period of time. I think it's the only place we will be able to see movies. But actually, you know, for cinema in general, this is going to be a massive period of change. And as I say, I just hope that there's still room for other streaming services that might invest in a wider range of products rather than just you know, a few tentpole franchises.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny you say that because next week we get the premiere of WandaVision on Disney Plus, which is, I guess, the next step in the, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and its first.
Do we know if that's releasing weekly or are they dropping the whole series in one?
I think it's weekly, like the
damn it.
Mandalorian
I hate weekly.
was. Yeah, I can go both ways with it. I kind of like it I hate it when people just blast through stuff just because they can. I like the fact that you can, you know, you can watch a show. I mean, there's nothing stopping it if they release it all in one go. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'll move on.
No, I do get your point, though. There is something about that kind of old school water cooler thing, wasn't there, of going, while people were watching stuff weekly, and I guess when it was on TV, you could have that conversation each week because everyone was at the same stage of it. Whereas now, you know, you almost can't, it's hard to talk out loud about a TV show because the first thing you do is you even start typing the letters and someone says, don't talk about it, I'm only on episode whatever, whereas other people are at the end of it. I mean, the trailer for WandaVision looks really good. And I think this looks excellent. However, I'm really ready to be disappointed because but the thing is, I'm unconvinced that they will be as bold as I think they should be with this. And the trailer makes it look like it is going to be very bold, very interesting, and done in a very quirky manner. But I am a bit fearful that because it is in the Marvel universe and it is kind of their first step into phase 4 are we in now? I can't even remember what it is. But that they will pull back on it. I mean, I said to you guys on Twitter the other day, seeing the trailer for that reminded me how much I'd loved Legion, which is not a Disney one. I can't remember what channel it was on,
FX, I think
it would have been FX because it was part of the X-Men universe in theory. And it reminded me how much I loved that, and it actually got me to buy season 1 of that on Blu-ray to go back through and have a rewatch, and I'll probably pick on that in a couple of weeks. But that was great because it is it's not traditional superhero fare, and it is based off of the comic book, but the comic book wasn't traditional superhero fare. It deals a lot with he's a schizophrenic, and actually part of the power is that dependent on which personality is in control would depend on what power manifests and things like that. But it's a lot of it's done in a psychiatric ward, and it's just hugely creative and interesting. My favorite moment from it is randomly he is in a dreamscape, sat in a white suit, cross-legged, with a ukulele playing Rainbow Connection, while a tiny papier-mâché Hitler is standing behind him. And it just has moments like that where you just go, wow, like this is just crazy and interesting. And that's what I hope we might get from WandaVision. But I'm ready to be disappointed, but I'm still hoping. I've still got my fingers crossed.
I wish I could go back just a couple of moments ago and measure how quickly Stu lost faith in his own argument. I don't want to be one of those good... Oh, fuck it.
I was talking myself into an alleyway, a blind alleyway. I tell you. But I think I understand what I was trying to say, and hopefully, I think you kind of did as well, said, so that's fine. It was that water cool kind of,
it really is.
The TV watching that we used to have, but not so much nowadays.
I'm not sure we'll be there again. I don't think the weekly episodic kind of serial thing is gonna be around anymore.
It seems to be less and less, I have to say.
And there's part of it as well, isn't it? That if you burn through it, I mean, not that TV seasons are that long anyway these days, but if you watched it weekly and it was 10 episodes, I guess you then only had to wait 42 weeks for the next installment of it. Whereas if you burn through it in the first day it comes out, you're waiting a whole year to see the next episode.
Literally, I mean, I went through Cobra Kai season 3 on New Year's Day. I'm thinking, well, we don't get another one until 2022.
Pace yourself, man.
It's a fuck if there's a real cliffhanger at the end, isn't it? You're going, well, I've got a year to wait.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I experienced with The Boys, on Amazon Prime. And I think I said this on the show. That first series, I went straight into series 2, and that was fantastic. But now I've got a year, presumably, probably longer, to wait for series 3.
It's quite nice though if you come to like an older TV show or one that's already completed, because you know that as long as you've got access to it, say from streaming or if you bought it on Blu-ray or whatever, you can watch the whole thing at the pace that you want, knowing that it's all done. But yeah, that's the rarity, not the norm. If you're watching anything as it's produced, then you're waiting a goddamn long time for the next episode.
Indeed. Anything else for us, Seddon?
One last thing, and I might as well do it this week while Mid is on to save the potential flack that I'll get for it. I also watched Sonic the Hedgehog, which, and I watched it because it appeared in, I think, at least one movie of the year us, possibly 2, possibly 3 with some listeners' ones as well.
Just to clarify very quickly, personally, it was only in there because of the lack of films I had watched that year. That's my caveat.
And again, I didn't like it, but I wouldn't kind of go to town on it or really rail on it, and probably I'll just do it as a quickie. I just found it really average, and if anything, like at its best, it was average, and at some points it was below average, and I was quite intrigued as to what it was that people really liked about it, and kind of how it had found an audience. And I mean, I know it's got Sonic in it, and I guess there are lots of people that are Sonic fans, and that nostalgia element. But it just, I was watching it and I was thinking, this is Garfield the movie, or any movie that has had like a character in it that's animated. It's kind of hitting the same level of gags, and it's hitting the same level of jokes. And I guess if you like those jokes, you like those jokes. But it kind of didn't do anything particularly interesting for me or particularly well. And I guess it was that's a lie. The main dude, James, is it James Marsden?
Is
that his name? That's the first time I've ever seen him in anything
really?
where I haven't hated him.
Oh, okay.
Like,
fair enough.
Because generally I find him bland to really distasteful on most other things, and it has generally been the worst part of movies I've ever seen him in. But this, I thought he was actually the best part of it. But and again, a real struggle point for me is Jim Carrey. Oh, he was awful in it, and he was Jim Carrey. Almost
having
playing
fun.
Himself. He wasn't having fun. He was doing the same shit he was doing 20 years ago, but a lot less funny because it's 20 years later and it's still the same shit.
Did they not? And I haven't seen the film, so I'm literally asking the question. They did a cartoon. I think it was called Sonic Underground, I want to say, when I was a kid, like in the 90s, that was actually really interesting, where they were freedom fighters and Robotnik was this overlord. And it was really interesting, genuinely. Did they? I'm guessing they did not go in that direction.
No. And certainly some of the terminology used there of it being interesting. Yeah, they didn't go in that direction either. They didn't make it interesting in the slightest.
Nothing intriguing. Oh, damn it!
No, it was a total paint by numbers, like kind of Hollywood schlock. Here's your fish out of water. He buddies up with someone who has some relationship problems, and there's a bit of peril from there. And actually, the bad guy becomes the bad guy because he's actually like attached to the government. And then over the course of the movie, he loses his marbles, including really weird long scenes where he just kind of dances or sits in a room doing weird shit. And at the end, the good guys win, and it does nothing interesting. So yeah, I like the sound of the cartoon you're describing, and I might.
It was amazing. It was like, it was only a season or two, but it was like there was a really interesting story. It was like Final Fantasy VII, but with Sonic.
Reading the wiki, it does sound fabulous. Dr. Robotnik sounds like a Hitler-style character. Like, he's facing resistance groups and looking for powerful artifacts.
There was real mystique to it, and like they were underground because they get killed if they show their faces above, like a technological apocalypse. It was really interesting. Well, that's a mistake that they didn't adopt that storyline.
I've just looked it up, and it's not on any streaming services, but you can buy it from Amazon. So I might have a crack at that. Or to cleanse the palate of it, but as I say, I mean, like there's a lot I'd throw at playing it, but yeah, as I say, it was like kind of average, but it just did nothing, and nothing of that you couldn't watch in thousands of movies that have been released in the last decade, and it didn't do anything better. It just very much was the. Fuck it, we can't be bothered. Let's use that script we've used on so many other movies, and we'll just put a blue hedgehog in it this time.
Do you think it was like one of those deals where he was thinking, I liked that in the 90s, I played that, and I'll do this. Yeah, sure.
Could be. Could be.
That and a big fat paycheck.
Oh, yes, big fat paycheck may have been the one. I hear that it's going to be a sequel.
Yes, I've heard that.
Because it did so well, and I guess again that's the difference between like quality and earning money. Spice Girls. That's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of like the success that the Spice Girls got while being decidedly bland.
Let's not mock the Spice Girls. They were quality and quantity.
I don't know. I enjoyed it. But I do think a lot of it probably does go back to that nostalgia element.
It is strange, isn't it? Like, kind of, I said earlier about it's that where you get your enjoyment from, and I do love a bit of nostalgia. Like, there's those things that, like, I don't know, you just trigger sort of that emotion from when you was a kid. But like, if you said to me from a nostalgia perspective, if you ever watch this movie again, I'd say no, I'll just play Sonic. Then I'd get the nostalgia feel. Although maybe if I went back and tried to play Sonic now, maybe I wouldn't have quite for it as I used to. But
that's the thing. Yeah.
Do we want Mario Brothers 2? I mean, I know the main guy's dead, but still.
I would. As shocking as this might sound, as I'm saying that Sonic was only average, I'd rather watch Mario Brothers than I would watch Sonic again.
It can't be that bad.
Oh no, but purely because Mario fits into that it's so bad it's good kind of mold, doesn't it?
Whereas, it does have that quality.
Whereas Sonic,
about
I just go, why would I want to again watch something that I found quite bland again? Whereas Mario, I can sit there and watch it and go, oh my god,
yeah, that
what do they think they're doing here? Like,
it's an interesting question. Do you think your tolerance for film, not you said, but I'm the royal you, someone's tolerance for movies goes down when they have kids? Because I feel like, I'm more tolerant of a bland film now because I see I can see the amount of entertainment that I can get out of it on a toddler level. I can say,
as someone who doesn't have kids, mine is low, so probably yeah.
I think there's probably something in there, isn't there, of you getting like kind of joy out of seeing your kid get joy, and partially, I guess that's might be driven by going, brilliant. I know they'll watch this 25 times. That means I'll get all them hours back when I can just plump them in front of that. But I found my tolerance for movies has got worse over the years because I've seen so many movies. Yeah. And like when I say this is the 1000th time I've seen that same plot of Sonic, that's why I have zero tolerance for it at this point, because I kind of go, I don't just want to watch the same movie over and over again, just with a different character in it. I want something different or something that engages me. So yeah, that's been the driver for me, probably getting more and more critical and finding that average isn't good enough anymore. I need it to be good, right? And I need it to be engaging and good.
You need to stand out from the crowd.
Or so shit that it becomes good.
It goes back around on itself.
Yeah.
Interesting how we kind of view, judge movies, and, our taste levels kind of vary, and what one person thinks is good is another person's, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. But, it's all about opinions, isn't it? And that's kind of what we are here to do. Give ours and people give us theirs, and we go on our merry way and kind of just, I don't know what I'm thinking.
It's nice.
I've gone down that alleyway.
We're circling back a bit to something we said earlier, but one of the nice things about doing this is I probably wouldn't have watched Sonic if you guys hadn't said it was good.
Exactly.
And it's an hour and a half of my life, and I could easily say, well, that's an hour and a half of my life I wasted. But no, like it was. I guess there was some enjoyment in the experience of kind of like even trying to drill in and go, what are these guys seeing that I'm not?
Yeah. What did they pick out of this? And that, I think there's some merit in that. Yeah, definitely. Anything else for us, Seddon?
No, nothing that I won't. We'll pick up on some other stuff as the weeks go on.
Lovely stuff. I think we should probably do, if Mid is on next week, let's do Mandalorian next week.
Yeah.
I think let's rip off that Band-Aid.
Do you know what, though? To be honest, it's probably a good time to do it as well, because I'm nowhere near as angry about it as I was, and I've probably forgotten some of the stuff that was so terrible about it. So you'll probably get an easier ride out of me next week.
Fabulous. Right. Thank you both. I do have an And Finally story to round this show off for the first show of the new year. And I was kind of, this came in at the last second for me. I did have two others, but they felt they were too. I felt like they were reflecting too much on the previous year. I thought, I want to go ahead with something new. I don't want to keep reflecting on 2020. One of them was how you can eat your Christmas tree. I thought that was quite interesting. Someone has authored a cookery book on how to eat Christmas trees. But again, I thought, well, Christmas has been gone. Let's move forward.
If we didn't have so much snack food on Christmas Day, that might have my reality.
I hasten to add, I didn't read up on what the methods were. So I can't pass that on. I'm sorry.
Surely boiling. It's the only way to soften.
Yeah, I think.
Wow. I got the impression. Sorry, I clicked on the link. There was a Christmas tree cured fish.
Oh,
so yes, it's fish, but yeah, it's cured in Christmas tree leaves.
And I think they were using it almost like thyme as well. Like you use it as a herb almost. But anyway, and the second one was about the irony of some American fire department. Their last call of 2020 was to put out a dumpster. So kind of
Oh, did I talk about a fire? when we were last on.
No.
Sorry to jump ahead, but you just reminded me, and it's not often that anything like remotely weird happens in my life, other than if it's in a video game. But
you say your house burnt down.
And pre-Christmas, I was walking home from work, and it was a bit of a misty, kind of funky day. And then I hit a patch of fog that I could only describe as being from the movie The Fog. And I thought, well, this ain't right. But it had like a kind of weird smell to it. And I thought, this isn't fog anymore. This is smoke. So I started to kind of look around. And I saw a house on fire. So like the window had kind of blown out in an upstairs bit, and there was like flames licking out of the house. So, and this is the first time I've ever had to do this in my life. I picked up the phone and dialed 999 and said, I want to report a fire, and went through all of that gubbins. But like at the same time, I was kind of banging on the door because I thought, well, if there's someone in there and they don't know, then I should get them out. But I guess the bit that made and I left before kind of the end. No, but like I don't know, because I didn't really kind of want, once the fire service turned up, I didn't want to kind of morbidly stay there, even though by that time a large crowd of people filming it on their mobile phones had appeared. But this was a kind of terraced house, so there was a house either side. So I was knocking on like one side to try and get their attention, because again, I think like you don't want to be in a house next to one that's on fire. And the first house I knocked on, like a lady had answered the door, and I sort of said, "Oh, look, really sorry to disturb you, but like next door's on fire. You need to get out of the house." And she sort of said, "Oh, my kids are indoors. I'll just go and get them." So I was like, "Yeah, go, but like hurry up, because just in case anything exploded." And this is the bit where it got like really weird for me. Is then I went the other side and I did like the bang, 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 and a guy answered the door, and I sort of said, "Oh, look, sorry, mate." And again, bearing in mind we're in a COVID world where people probably don't want strangers sticking their face in. So I was like, "Sorry, next door is on fire. You need to get out of the house." And he kind of looked at me, and I thought, well, okay, I probably wouldn't take that in at first call. So I kind of beckoned him out of the house and pointed to the flames licking out of the window and said, "The house is on fire next door. You need to get out of the house." And he just went, "I'm not bothered," and just went back in and shut the door. And I just thought, okay, then, mate, what can you do? But when the fire service did turn up, and the fire service were there really quick, I was amazed at how quick they got there. But when they got there, they sort of said, "Oh, like, do you know like whose house it is?" And I said, "No." So I was just walking home. I did all that, and they said, "Do you know whether there's anyone in the house either side?" And I said, "Well, that one's just left." And I said, and that fella just said he's not bothered, and he's gone back in. And the fella got like he'd like a kind of door rammer out and said, "We'll get him out. Don't you worry about that." And that's kind of when I left off, because I thought, well, the fire service is here, so they don't need me anymore. But yeah, it was a really weird moment in my life. Like I'd never experienced a fire or had to dial 999 before.
I feel like you could have been a bit more John McClane about it. Like, come on, lads, come on. Out.
I was trying to kind of do like a bit of faux polite Brit as well, and be understanding of the COVID times. But yeah, it was really odd. And as I say, like the fire engine had turned up, so not that I was expecting like bystanders starts jumping in, but yeah, every single one of them, rather than kind of asking can they assist, had just got their phone out and started to film it.
That's the modern way, isn't it, these days?
Yeah, you did it all good job.
Yeah, well done you. How can you just drop that in like 10 minutes?
I'd forgotten about it until, and I actually forgotten about it till yesterday. Like on the day that it happened, I come home and told Andrea, like, because I'd just got in and I was running a bit late, and I think I told my mum, so she'd be proud of me. But then I kind of just forgot it happened, and it was only yesterday someone at work was talking about their other halves being a volunteer firefighter, and as soon as they said that, I went, "Oh yeah." There was that fire before Christmas that I was at. Like, it just reminded me, but I'd forgotten in between.
Well, that's how you know he wasn't John McClane about it, because he's being very modest.
Well, like since then, I've been trying to create Waterworld in Minecraft. So a lot happened.
Yes. Well, bravo you. That's all I can say.
Yes.
Good job. Do you know what happened? Kind of.
No, I don't know what I didn't.
They all burned to
look.
death.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't want to look like as terrible as it sounds. I guess not that any of it was my fault, but I almost didn't want to look in the local news and then see like that there had been a family in there, and by the time I'd noticed it, they'd died. So I just thought, look, it's best just not to know and just move on with my life.
Unless it was the man who lived next door.
Oh yeah,
surly man from number 32.
Honestly, like, and it was just kind of the way he said it to me. It's just like, I'm not bothered. Just went back in. Just like, okay, what do you do? Like, but yeah, bless him.
I hope they smashed down his. I was smashed in his back doors.
Yeah.
So
his front door, obviously. Yeah. Okay. So my and finally story is quite. I thought it was quite a chuckle. I can open my link. So this is from thedailybeast.com. This is probably where I find out. This is like The Onion or something. It's a publication with false stories, but I don't think it is. The tagline is "Law and Order," which I thought was quite good. A woman's body discovery that sparked police search, turns out to be a large potato. That's right. An English dog walker got the shock of her life on Tuesday when she stumbled across what appeared to be a human foot protruding through the dirt in the countryside. However, after police deployed a large-scale search team to the potential major crime scene, they discovered it was just a potato growing next to a mushroom. According to BBC News, the woman sent a photo of the root vegetable selection to police as soon as she got home from the walk. It's very similar to your story, Seddon, really. Northumbria police said the photo did show what appeared to be a human foot, so they deployed multiple officers to the scene. The search team did have a chuckle when they realised it was a potato. The police said in a statement, adding praise for the unnamed woman's vigilance. Police said anyone in a similar position should call them, stating, if it does turn out to be a vegetable, our police dogs will thank you for the treat. So there you go. It wasn't a decomposing corpse. It was a Jersey Royal.
Well, I guess you do get those big potatoes that are giant. I suppose you could make that mistake, but it's still pretty. If you did it end up in a shoe or something? How would you reach that conclusion? Well, how would you reach a conclusion when it's a foot?
Well, there is a photo accompanying the story, and it does. Oh. Well, even then, it doesn't. Does it look like a foot? I suppose it does look like a big toe, doesn't it? Really. But yeah, I don't know. You get these vegetables that have like penis shapes to them, don't you? They're quite funny.
Well, I just think you'd have to be pretty damn sure before you call the police.
Well, yeah. At least give it like a little kick or something.
Yeah, I think I would get up close to it before I decided it was a dead body.
And it's surrounded by other foliage as well. You'd kind of think, well, this is like a vegetable growing type area. It could be a veggie, not a body. I mean, come on, man.
I think she wanted to see a foot. She's Quentin Tarantino.
So there we go. A positive end to the story. It wasn't a corpse. It was merely a potato.
Yes,
so there we go.
Everyone's alive.
Indeed. Hurrah. And there we go. That is our podcast for the week. First of 2021. Thank you, boys, for joining me. Pleasure as always.
Mm-hmm.
Have I got anything else to say? I don't think I do. If you haven't listened to them yet, go check out the Stiffy Awards, our end of year awards from 2020 that we released over Christmas, and indeed the Christmas quiz that Midge put together. A very good, an excellent production, audio production by DRB. Went to town on that one. No mention of the results. I do not recognise it. I'm like Trump. I'm not recognising those results. I'm going to march on DRB's house or something. I don't know.
Can I just do a quick shout out? Sorry, it's something I meant to do earlier on, but I forgot about it. And it's probably foolish to recommend another podcast when you're trying to get people to listen to your podcast. But I listened to the Bamcast, which is Ben Wyatt, who listens to the show. I listened to a few episodes of their podcast over the Christmas period as well. Fantastic. Really, really sort of fun and enjoyable, and right up my alley because they review bad movies, and when I say bad movies, things that they assume are going to be bad going into it, and they kind of have a rating scale of, is it actually really bad? Was it just kind of average bad, or was it so bad it's good? And they were doing a few episodes on the bounce of Nicolas Cage movies, and that's where I kind of jumped on. So like if you get a bit of spare time, definitely give them a download and a listen to. I think they're on to episode 43 now, and as I say, I jumped in the middle because it's quite a easy concept to jump on, but well worth it, and give them a go.
Definitely. Well, they're not only old friends of ours. Didn't we help them start?
Yeah, so
the first thing we did was Justin did Santa with Muscles with us.
Yeah, we did. So Justin came on board with us for a couple of shows. And
it was always supposed to be that. It wasn't the Die Cinema Die. That's
Die Cinema Die. That was it.
Yeah, they do mention that. So I didn't remember kind of that as a concept bit, but they do talk about Die Cinema Die in I think 2 of the episodes that I've listened to.
Nice. Yeah, they kind of and God love Justin. He kind of went on and did his own thing, and it's still going. So yeah.
Good on.
Good on. Go listen.
Definitely check them out.
And I'm not sure if I'm not sure if Asia Mania is if the old feed is still up at all, but they were always.
I don't know. They were fucking hilarious. One of the best.
Yeah.
I know Ben's doing a wrestling thing now. He's doing well. Apparently, it seems, at least from social media.
Does a few updates on the podcast as well about kind of how the wrestling's going. I think, as I say, it was pre-Christmas. I don't know how far in advance they do the episodes, but I think he was preparing for his second kind of pro match, I guess. But I think it was his first tag team match. But yeah, it's interesting to listen to him talk about it.
Yeah. I've got to check that out, actually. Good for him, dude.
Ben, if you are listening, if you do have, get your old Asia Mania episodes up online, if they're not up there already. I'd love to go back and listen to the back catalogue of those. Dot Points was hilarious.
Fucking
hysterical.
Me too.
There we go. Anything else, boys, before I wrap this up?
Not for me.
No, I don't think so. Just ask questions next week on the Facebook page.
Yes, please.
That's about it.
Yeah, Happy New Year to all. Hopefully 2021 is a fabulous year for everyone.
Started well, isn't it?
It hasn't started particularly well, but always onwards and upwards, I say. You can always improve, can't it? Anyway, until next week, all that's left for me to say is just please stay safe, goodbye, and we'll see you next week.